that the product strategy also plays a key role to map the business along with the business goal, and the more importantly, at what point that need to be done, right?
Really that very delicate seesaw and balance of the business strategy and how the product strategy fits into that to make sure it works well. Business strategy versus product strategy.
So what's your approach on creating a compelling roadmap, product
So you
roadmap?
have very conflicting needs there and what's happening. If you want me to pivot, let's align on what is that business goal now that we're going after. Document those decisions.
It's like I think how to know when to pivot and find the perfect PMF. So let's start off this session. So we have in-house Natasha Desai, who is VP of Product from Doceree, and today we are gonna talk about product strategy and how to master it in a right way. Right? Welcome in-house, Natasha.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Great, great. So Natasha brings in wealth of experience in from the current organization Doceree, which is into health tech, and also she was a former leader in Microsoft as a product. And I'll just pass on the baton to introduce herself by Natasha. Natasha, if you could introduce to the team on this, that will be great.
Hey everyone. So as mentioned, I am Natasha. I am VP at product at Doc Hair. I know it looks like it's Dockery, but it's Doc Hair. It's taken from a derivation of Latin words, but just a little bit about me. My roots started in something completely different in, clinical developmental psych, which brought me to leading and building communication dashboards for children with autism. That then led me to a path of joining an ed tech company where I officially first got my title of product management and what that was bestowed upon me. From there, I hopped into ad tech, which I absolutely fell in love with all ecosystems, which were demand side platforms and different technologies associated with that, to really seeing also in my career what it means to go through two acquisitions with AT&T and then finally with Microsoft, where I was a part of the AI and advertising team under the WebXT org. Recently, I made a decision of really missing what was those startups and acceleration that was there. I absolutely love that environment and decided to hop over to Doc Hair and absolutely loved the mission and the goals that we're accomplishing. So that's a bit about me.
Thanks, Natasha. That is wonderful. Kind of fun. So I think more and more people are joining now. So a quick introduction. So like myself Avik, and also a quick introduction of us. Myself Avik, and I'm currently working with many aspiring PMs to help them grow into as a product manager. And I have also working on a product called UPivot, and it's multiple thing. So and that's where these things come up, and this session with you would really bring more value to the community that I run here. A very small one, but they are hunger for learning.
No, I'm really looking forward to it, working with teams. And I really do believe, product is a muscle to be flexed. And so you have to always consistently and constantly be learning and exposing yourself and building your network. So I think this is absolutely fabulous.
What, like, how do you define a product strategy, if I would say, right? And why do you think it is important for everyone to do it? A very basic question, but I would like to start from the base.
Yeah.
That right?
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. I'm audible. Thank you. I think when you think about strategy and it's a very big term and a lot of things can align to that. There are a lot of things that can be jumbled into that, but when you strip it down, it's really understanding and making sure that you have a focus and a plan for a particular product or product line. It is really about how you are doing your job well, which is meeting the customer's needs and making sure you are achieving that market success or the definition of success of what it means for your vision and aligning to that. So at that base core, you're figuring out how to meet your customers' needs within line with your business vision. And there is the plan around that, if you will, that puts together that strategy. Um, for me, there are also many different aspects that go into that. So, what is your mission of the company? What is the vision of your company? Making sure you're clear in that regard. How are you meeting your customers' needs? Are you aware of those customers' needs? How are you translating those needs? So I would like to dive into a few of those. But before I do, is there, when I'm thinking about that strategy and product strategy specifically, how does that resonate with you? I know you have a lot of experiences at Amazon as well that, it's about the documentation there and other things, but would you add anything to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, product strategy, as per my experience, has always been driven down from the business goals, right? And it is always a two-way ball game, like a little bit a deeper thought, right? So there is a business team who is driving revenues or driving the business ahead, and then there is a product team who is developing product based on which the business is earned. So this is where the product strategy also plays a key role to map the business along with the business goal, and the more importantly at what point that need to be done right in a right way, so that it does not go like, okay, so the business team has gone ahead and XY did a great work on signing up the contracts or the business, but the product is not ready, or the product has developed so beautiful that now there is the business team has still not gone into the market. So both ways it should work. So that is one of the key aspects that I have learned in Amazon, to be very honest. And yes, what you said about the product strategy regarding the vision, mission, and everything, that should be there. But this is one kind of a real, I would say, a practical kind of a thing that I have learned. I don't know, like, have you ever faced this kind of a situation?
Yeah, I think, and we'll definitely dive into this. And for everybody here, I would love to know which altitude this fits at the most for you all, because what you're describing also is really that very delicate seesaw and balance of the business strategy and how the product strategy fits into that to make sure it works well. It's a seesaw. It's also, it's an engine that drives it. That there are many, many different ways to fit it all together. But you're absolutely right. Like for me, a business strategy, the scope is company wide. The product strategy, the scope is specific to that product or product line or lines, right? And that's where Airbnb comes in. When I was at Configure It, there were 2 product lines. That was it at that point in time. Now there's 7. That is a very different strategy, and what the product strategy looked at based off of the business goals versus what it is now versus what my product lines are now. And the depending on where you are, junior or senior level, your engagement with that business team to make this successful looks very different as well. And I think what you're describing also is really the one of making sure the right people are in the room to get the right things done at the right time. So there is that product market fit and the adoption is there at the right time.
Right.
The go-to-market motions are all there together. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I
absolutely.
think that's a perfect like diving in spot of a little bit more of business strategy versus product strategy. Beyond scope, right, then is also the focus. For a business strategy, it is very long term. You're having that market positioning, you're looking at profitability and even the competitive advantage that you offer. The product strategy within that is really looking at the development, the user needs, the market fit to allow, and the feature prioritization to allow for that market fit to accelerate even more and more. I think that's how, if you think about it that way, you will always have that alignment with your business strategy and make sure the product fits in. But going back to your core question, also for me, product focused is really about that product line and knowing how your user needs fit that and solve that business problem also that you're solving, and you're keep delivering against that.
Perfect. I think that summarize much better, right? So, but people need to know here, just to give a kind of an background. Like any product strategy that we'll develop will focus mostly on the product. I'll just reiterate,
Mhm.
and the business goal is the overall goal, right? So somewhere these need to be mapped. It cannot be this goes in a different hands, So it's very important that before we learn about a product strategy, we need to understand that there is another strategy at a business level or a business org level that always need to be kept in mind along with the customer needs and everything, right? So with that, let's kick off this session in a more detailed way. So what do you think, Natasha? What would be the key component of good product strategy, or I would rather say, like, can you give some example, if you can include some example for people here to understand?
Sure. I think, there are different layers that I'll go through. The first one being something that we just discussed, and a bit more of the example of that was that alignment of business strategy and product strategy. For me, that summarizes into what is the vision of this product strategy, a clear overarching goal for your product. So let's say, if it is like personal finance or whatever you're in, it could even be as simple as to become the leading app for personal finance management. Very simple, something clear, you can summarize very quickly, you're going after it. Then is understanding, and some of this is that legwork of what is the market research, understanding the landscape, knowing who your competitors are, what are the market trends, what is the customer behavior. So if it was that finance management, people typically in the US use their banking apps, have some financial manager. The typical sentiment is not a positive one when it comes to finances. It's, I hope it's good. That's basically it, right? Understanding who else is out there, who are those competitors that they're using, that sentiment, like I mentioned, that sort of work fits there. Then goes a bit into who are you in the organization or where you contribute, but it's understanding the goals and objectives of the strategy. How do you fit into that? What is your component contributing towards that? And a good product leader will set the right measurable and achievable goals for the team, understanding what does it mean for market share for the product, where you are in terms of a launch or a scale. What are the revenue targets? Is it customer satisfaction metrics? What are those measurable outcomes that you are looking for as you are achieving those goals and the contributions towards that?
Yep.
So that's a bit of the structure and framework to define the strategy, define the goals. Then comes you understanding the product in a deeper level. That is understanding your customer personas. Do you know who your target audience is? Do you have a breakdown of that? Do you understand their needs? Do you understand their pain points? Do you understand their preferences? Some of that goes into what is it for market research, but this is more of that deeper dive. Truly, can you empathize with what they need? Do you live and breathe it the way that, sometimes too passionately, but do you truly understand what are those customer pain points and how you can address some of their problems?
Right.
Then I would say probably looking at my list here, your unique value proposition, like what sets your product apart. Ed Biden calls them the superpowers, and how do you make sure your product addresses them? Are you addressing economics of scale, networking effects, how to manage that? Is it a switching cost function? What are the barriers to entry there? This is you truly understanding that. So for example, if we go back to that financial advising or management, our app uses AI to provide, that's a big buzzword right now. So uses AI to provide financial advisement, right? Or advice, something that differentiates you, and then you can have a why or something towards that as well. And then from there, you have now a very clear vision and understanding of the market. You have your goals, but then also the pain points of your customers and what you can be doing differently. From there, it's now funneling all that down to something that's really tangible. And that's where a product team comes together to deliver a roadmap that contributes towards the strategy. So what are the things and the priorities that you would like to go after, and a timeline against those that are contributing to the strategy. So if it is to become that leading app for personal finance management, particularly leveraging AI, what are the key things now that I want to be building to deliver that. That will, of course, now, and you know this, and I want to like close one conversation before, of course, starting another. But that's where you then work with your team or work with the key stakeholders. What is the go-to-market function of that? How do we want to talk about that? How do we want to make sure it fits the market strategy or the overall play for the company? Is this the only thing we're offering, or is this one of many things that we're offering? So all that then will fit together.
Great. So, one quick question over here, right? Like, it looks huge, right? So many things to follow: vision, market research, customer empathy, so the customer persona, unique value proposition, roadmap. Now, how would you like do that in your time frame or in your experience? Because is this a 1 day job, or is this a 3 months job, or is this a 6 months job? Like, if that would be really helpful for people to know that, because a product strategy is not that a single statement build a product strategy, right? And then you just go and build it, right? So how do you,
Yeah.
what do you think about it, like how it works, and what is the process in the real world, right? What is the process to build it?
It is a living, breathing beast of a thing that constantly needs to be fed, cultivated, nourished. It's a toddler. It is like product strategy truly is. Because your needs are changing of the customer. They're always evolving. You know, it's going to evolve. But I think it is a different person's job to be thinking about it at different times in different ways. So I think that's a good way to, it depends answer, but truly a right one, because everybody's contributing towards the strategy, right? So your thought process and your ability to think about it at different levels also is going to look different. So for a junior PM, your contribution might be very much around the execution of very different features and making sure there's clear communication with your technical teams on the user needs, the customer problem you're solving, and the business deliverable you're going after. That's how you think about the strategy and contributing towards that. That's your daily job. You're probably hearing about the strategy maybe once a quarter or maybe once a 6 week sync when you're having a green light meeting or an alignment session. With a good leader, they're probably talking to you about it on a monthly basis. How are you contributing towards those metrics? That's probably the contribution and the engagement. For a more mid-level PM or somebody who is a mid to senior level PM, I would say that you are talking more about the roadmap alignment in bigger chunks and functionality that's delivered that are contributing towards business goals a bit more. You are making more decisions and having a stronger voice in the room around feature prioritization. You're looking at metrics a bit more and trying to find patterns to help contribute towards the strategy, or even alert folks of, hey, there might be something unique happening here. We went after, taking that personal finance one, we went after helping people with financial advisement, but we are noticing more that they're spending time looking at, this calculator that we have about personal like mortgage rates. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that might be something for us to look at. Why are they playing with that? So you're having some more of those deeper dive conversations and thinking about strategy a bit more than maybe just execution. That's where I would put that. And then finally, for senior product managers, directors, you are a little bit more involved in that strategic planning now of defining that strategy a bit more. You are owning some of those deliverables a bit more. You are aligning with those key stakeholders a bit more of feedback now in terms of market research, understanding what competitors are doing, and making sure, are we disrupting that more, or is it more of that parity? You're paying more attention to those superpowers of your product and unique value proposition a bit more. Also providing, stakeholders a bit more insight into your process and the key contributors towards those goals. So you're definitely in it a bit more in your day to day.
Great. I think this is a very beautiful insight, like how you broken down into a junior PM, mid level, and a senior PM. This is really helpful, and I think this is really the value that we are looking for. Help me understand, like, how can we as a product manager can balance the short-term needs with the long-term product vision, right? So, can you shed some light over there?
Our question, right? I think so. I'll give some personal examples, and then I'll dive into uh, some strategies or tools that everybody can use. When I was at Configure It and under Brain Pop, which is a phenomenal ed tech company, we were in a very much ready for launch and testing the waters of the market and tapping into new markets and assessing what it would mean. So it was really 0 to 1. And that was the short term was the long term. Like it together, because we had to do it immediately to get the feedback, to understand if this would scale. In education technology, there are subscriptions that are yearly. So when the cliff of the monetization is they get it at one time typically, and that's it. So how do we scale that? Like everything was trying to be answered at the same time. Whereas when I was at AppNexus to then Xander and an acquisition and other things, we had multiple product lines, and they were all at different stages. Some that are continuing the business and are scaling the business and really the foundation of our business, versus new and differentiated opportunities that were built upon subscriptions or so on. And those were being tested in different ways. So managing different business lines and the scaling of that was a different thought process. And so if you're thinking about, well, regardless of the company that you're in or regardless of the work that you're doing, what are the tools that you could potentially bring in, is it very much helps if you have a very strong vision in mind, if you know where you want to go. If you do not know where you want to go, and sometimes that's very fair, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that doesn't exist. If you don't know, you truly need to know what your customer needs and what your business goals are. If those two are there, then you have the right clear North Star to be marching towards, and you can always anchor on that in any conversation to make sure you have alignment. So I'll just start there as a real practical thing that you need when you are balancing short-term and long-term is, what are my business goals? What does the customer need? And is there a vision that I'm marching towards? Great. That's your from there, what is your team utilizing? And if not your team, you and your understanding of prioritization frameworks. That is very, very important. Is it the RICE framework? Is it a Reiki model? Is it a Moscow must have, nice to have, way too long to build? Is it looking at, your confidence scores? Do you and your engineer have a strong alignment? If not your UX, if not your CEO, like who is that other stakeholder to be contributing to these prioritization frameworks? That will also very much help in the conversations of what does it mean for short term versus long term. So what is that value that you're bringing in? Those are the things that I think can very much help. And then finally, in that balance of short-term versus long-term and those needs that are there, it's what is your check-in to review? Is it constant? Is it only 6 weeks? Is it quarterly? And are you always calibrating? I think product advocating for that is a very good thing, because if you take even a step back, balancing short term with long term for me is you're kind of like the acrobat who's on the tightrope at all times. And you can either handle it very stressfully or you can handle it with a lot of elegance, and you can carry tea with you on one side and all those fabulous things, right? Like you can balance it all. And that is constant communication. Like there's too much slack in the rope is really tight. There's a lot of wind in my way, or you have to be, product managers need to communicate that really well. So if you have hey, here's my vision, here's how we're prioritizing, here's how I'm going to communicate how we are progressing, I think you are able to navigate all the different stakeholders around you to help make those decisions better.
Got it. No, this is really insightful, right? Like long term and short term is a juggler's kind of a thing, right? So there is always a pressure as well as you need to perform and you need to get give results.
Yeah.
So what's your approach on creating a compelling roadmap, product roadmap? Like how do you approach in your experience, right? The real insight, like to create a compelling roadmap.
So I mean, let's take that, the little bit of what I said earlier, right? Of balancing both. Of when I was at Brain Pop, I'll use that as an example. And this is a very long time ago, and it's a world that's a little different. So I like that also because it helps you remember all the different needs of different markets and domains that are there. A little bit of background and context is the education system in the US is on a subscription base. If you're looking at the digital market, it's typically a subscription based model or a freemium model. And so when you're looking at who are our competitors and what are we disrupting, it's something that kids can get for free online, and they find some tool and it's a sticky factor and something that's coming in that they love, usually a game. Or it's something that a school system has adopted and leverages and utilizes, and that in a privacy compliant way, of course, and so on and so forth. So you have very conflicting needs there and what's happening.
Mhm.
But what we were doing, typically looking at more senior level math and science concepts on top of already a established company. So this has exploration phase of what does it mean to help students learn better online and understand the foundations of math and science topics, particularly those in the STEM and fields and tracking in that way, of course, and that's to a bigger goal, but our basic foundation and the goals that we were trying to accomplish is users should be able to learn the foundations of chemistry and geometry, and that will then grow into different subjects. What we were going after and in building the product strategy there is we needed the right content. We needed to make sure the content was represented in a user-friendly and easy way, and that students were understanding that, or they got feedback loops that they were doing thing. Those were the basic things that needed to be there. And that
Right.
would give us MVP to go to any customer, and I'll talk about who those customers were, and get their feedback of how would this fit in their school ecosystem. And so now breaking down any customer, there were multiple layers. There's the actual student who's actually the hands-on keyboard, who's actually using our tool. There are teachers who are also using our tool, but also the strongest advocates for our tool. And then you have the decision makers in the room who are the ones who are actually paying the bill of our tool. And
Right.
that we look in different models. Are we doing a student model of, hey, I'm a student and I like this. I just want to use it because I use my own independent way to study and I just want to use it. Or, hey, I'm a teacher. I have 30 kids in my class. I would love for my kids to use this. My school approves it. I'd like to buy this for 30 students. Or a school or a school district saying, hey, I have 7 classes. I want to buy this in a subscription model for the whole entire year for my kids and my teachers. What does that model look like? So very different, touch points from a
Right.
revenue perspective, but my product has to solve all problems. And the basic problem is they have the right content, they understand that they feel confident using it, and they're getting feedback. So it was very, very clear of what the goal is, very clear what my user needs, but a lot of different business goals to solve for. And that's where having multiple stakeholders in the room, talking about what is it that we're going after, aligning on that was very, very important. Very important. Abhig, I know you know this, and you can have a leader go into a room with a client or a potential stakeholder and come out with a completely different vision or a completely different goal. And
Yeah.
and I've had that, like, well, now we have to go after a school district with 1,700 teachers and need to build them a whole way to model so they can see and look at who's doing what in which classroom, and they can have a dashboard of how the students are doing. And I'm just like, yes, that's a great idea. In my head, I'm like, oh my God, That is data compliance here, there, we're building this system. They have to be talking in this way, communicating. Is that really going to build business value? No. Is that a good idea? No, it's not a good idea. It's not going to get us any closer to our goal. But I have to remind us of our goal and make sure we're all still aligned on that goal to then say, here's the prioritization to get us there.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going towards content? I'm 80% there. How am I going towards building the user experience? I'm only 25% there.
Mm-hmm.
Build this. If you want me to pivot, let's align on what is that business goal now that we're going after. And document those decisions.
I think that's a wonderful explanation, right? So yeah, it's really typically the product roadmap or the strategy and around it is very difficult to manage, and that's why we always used to call in Amazon that this is always a living doc. This is not
Yeah.
something that you cannot just create at the start of the year and say that, hey, we have to follow this. Never happens. It evolves, and we need to come back to that board, do the brainstorming, and do that prioritization. It becomes a sometimes it becomes a like quarterly activity, or sometimes it becomes a very monthly activity kind of a thing to revisit, and aligning the stakeholders again and again. And that's where the key skill of product manager comes, to align the stakeholders, like to influence them, because they are already buying your idea a quarter ago, right? And then now you are coming and you are saying that, hey, this is what it is now, it need to be changed. And that is where exactly a differentiator comes in between a good PM versus a very operational PM, right? So how they manage those expectations of those leaders, right? Like once you set up this expectation, and then like you came out of that room where the client want, and then there is also your leaders also say that, hey, this need to be done, because if you don't do this, then this will happen, this will make to XYZ. And then you as a product has to sit, understand the pain points and everything, and clear out a vision. And not only that, once you do that, the job is not done. You need to align your stakeholders, right? And that's where the thing is, right? I think it was really the way you explained with an example, and we will certainly move into more case studies later. But why don't you introduce about, or I would rather say not introduce, I would rather ask, what motivates you? Which writers motivate you, or what kind of a thing that you read to keep in the top of the game on your mind?
Yeah. There are a few that I absolutely love. I'm I started as a IC. I am now a leader of an org and have multiple PMs, engineers, UX stakeholders that I work with. There are many things that motivate me. I absolutely love being at that intersection point. Like, I love analogies, you'll hear me use them.
Yeah.
When you're a product manager and you're growing in your career, you're going to wear many different hats as the type of product manager that you are, depending on where you are and where do you want to be in that role, in that ecosystem. You are a very strong IC who has a subject matter expertise, and you want to contribute to a very specific domain or a very specific space. You like working with clients or with go-to-market teams, or you like working with internal teams and scaling different aspects of the business and technical tools. There are those folks. There are others who want to be leaders of orgs and mentor other PMs or understand the operational aspects to help optimize businesses. There are many different ways PMs can contribute to business functions. I love all of them, and that's where I love being at this altitude, because I can go up and down very, very easily. Like, my elevator is on fast speed, right? And I have different team members at different places who do that. The people who I love in the ecosystem of where I am right now are those who really help explain product management well, in addition to are very, very strong communicators with their stakeholders and managing those functions well. That is my job. I'm like, we're really glorified weathermen, y'all, to be very honest with you. Like, a weatherman is not a fortune teller, but we treat him like one. Like, his job is to just communicate well what can happen from the data that they see. That is their job, and that is a product manager's job as well. You are communicating well from the trends that you see, from the customer needs, and understanding the business value, and are managing that very, very well. And so for me, finding the people who are talking about those balances, when do you lean in one way more than the other, that art of product management as well as the science are the people that I love. So a few of those names for you. I actually put a list together because there's a few books and things. Let me see if I can pull that up. So one is Ed Biden. He is very, very good on LinkedIn. He is clear and quick content that then gives you a deeper dive and has a fabulous newsletter as well. Akash Gupta, he is really relevant topics with business case examples, gives you helps you go through and walks you through certain examples as well of different ways to think about things. I love David Pereira. He has a new book that's out right now.
Untrapped. Yeah.
Teams. Loving that his approach also. He gives you a very good hook, and then and then dives in and breaks that down. He just recently spoke at a conference, and I absolutely love it. Is your backlog should be treated like your backlog ages like milk, not wine. Treated appropriately, and I love that. That is so true. It's not going to age well, so you
great analogy to tell about backlog, to be very honest.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's what I love doing also, is I could take this and tell my PMs also, when we go through Scrum reviews or we go through our 6-week sync, is your backlog seems to be souring a bit. Let's look at that feedback now. Let's understand it, because a need is not going to compound from a user into now a greater need that is now going to bring in more revenue. If it was a wine analogy, it is souring. The users are frustrated, or it is not bringing business revenue, and it could. What's happening here? Let's see what we can do.
Great. So, Natasha, we would love to know about your company, right, Docker, and about how it's operating and little background about it, and then probably you can also talk about the internship, and then we can move into the case studies.
Yeah, absolutely. So, team, I'm at Doceree at the moment, and what we are all about is really making sure HCP, that is healthcare providers, and patient conversations are enriched in the right moment. We're sending the right targeted message to provide the ultimate best patient outcome. The way that we do that is really we're addressing two different current and emerging challenges that are seen with healthcare and life science organizations, and engagements that happen with healthcare providers and patients. Typically, where that intersection happens, obviously for us, is where digital enhancements are being made in the healthcare space. But really the ultimate outcome for ensuring that HCPs and patients are having meaningful conversations is our ultimate goal. Talking a bit more then about the internship that we're working on here, Avik, is, like I mentioned, I truly believe that product is a muscle that needs to be cultivated and flexed, but I'm very, very proud to be a part of a company also that has such a strong leadership mindset around cultivating talent and the opportunities that are given to get experience to flex that more. My background, I don't have a product management degree. A lot of us don't. We've come from different places, which is very, very important. Now it's becoming giving people the right opportunities and that way to gain experience in a lot of different ways is really important. And so we're working towards launching a few different programs, one of which being an internship for students to come in or folks to come in around product experience. And that will mean engaging with multiple business teams, working with engineers and UX designers to see a product to launch or to iterate on one that's there, as well as also be engaged in internal tooling optimizations and scaling business functions. So we are fleshing that out for the beginning of the new year, and especially for this cohort and wanting, really, really good talent and folks who are willing to, roll up their sleeves and dive into it. Abhik gets definitely first choice of that group coming up to the top of my list. So please engage with him on what that will look like, and I will be sending out formal applications closer towards the end of the year.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity to give to me and my group. So just to add on with that, so what Natasha would be doing is will be circulating the details by the end of the December, and the people who are taking mentorship from me or working within the community and learning from me will obviously get scrutinized, and then will be moved to Natasha's team for a round of interview to get the internship kind of a thing. Yeah, I think with that, like, this is really great, Natasha, that you chose us, and I really appreciate that. And also, like, this is something that the community needs now, because a lot more learning through online. Like, there are many channels, many avenues to learn online, but no hands-on experiences. Right, and this can really become a good source of learning for them. That is really great. So, Natasha, can we just talk about a case study and walk us through that has motivated you, and you have taken something from that to build in your work about strategy?
Yeah, definitely. I pulled a few when we were looking at different opportunities to talk about and thought about, where they were important to me. When I was at Xander, one of the things that we were working on was expanding our channel offering. So Xander was digital advertising and looking at different touch points when you were on the internet to show you the right ad at the right time. And contextual targeting, hyperlocal targeting, all those things are very much part of that ecosystem. But we were looking at, like I mentioned, in our omni-channel expansion offering of where do we go next? Is it when we expand to video, is it CTV? Do we go to CTV in gaming? Do we dabble in both, or do we become laser focused in one? And at that time, Airbnb was also very much scaling. Canva was another one, Pinterest was another one. And watching them establish their strategy and their relevance was really important. But one of the case studies that has really stuck with me, or one of the companies that I really love, is Airbnb. And the things that, we talked about so many things in this last hour, but just to kind of hone it back in around strategy, I just wanted to break down for you different elements of their strategy and how I think about that. And hopefully that can help you all feel more comfortable in asking the questions when you are putting together the right strategy. Like, things to kind of keep in mind here is, I will preface all this by saying the strategy is a living, breathing document. You must make sure you have stakeholder alignment, right, all along the way.
Right.
Airbnb is now, I think, cultivates a lot of these things, but keep those aspects in mind as we go through it. So when you're thinking about Airbnb, just so that folks know, it's really around allowing people to have experiences and access to live anywhere in any community that they want to. Now you have a business strategy. Let's kind of translate that to what a product strategy is, right? For them, it could mean many different things of the right compliance around people living wherever they want to live. It could be around easy access and a quick way to get in and seamless transactions online. It could be around the safety of the host. It could be many different things there, but that's not strategy. Those are features. Those are components of the strategy. They're wonderful things to have. I would get in, just so you know what that looks like, I would get into a room with a bunch of people, there are a bunch of post-its everywhere, and say, what are things top of mind to you about when you are on Airbnb that you want to get done? And then we would bundle all those together. They would have your different lanes. Then we would connect that to the strategy. So now the strategy of Airbnb, and let's start with there and then we'll work our way down, is really around creating a community-driven ecosystem and a place that emphasizes trust and ease of use. That's what Airbnb's product strategy is around. So they are creating a community that emphasizes trust and ease of use
Right.
for all of their different users and all their different product lines. There might be 40 different stakeholders in the room that are contributing towards that strategy. Somebody who's around compliance and super hosts and building out the host functionality. Somebody who's around the, working with third-party vendors and who's cleaning the house, who's doing this, who's doing that. Somebody who's working on experiences and, working with cancellation policies and FAQs and blah, 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 blah. There could be multiple people in the room who are doing different things there. But the overall strategy for when all product leaders are in the room and everybody's there of what did you do that's working towards your OKRs and KPIs, you are contributing towards creating a community-driven platform that is built on trust, very clear vision, and where we're going.
That's beautiful.
Different aspects of that, right? Like when you have that, or a product is able to communicate what they have understood from that, it helps align everybody in the room on are we in the right mindset for this conversation, headed in the right direction. And so now different aspects of Airbnb's strategy, right? And this is where, when we were talking about market penetration or opportunity, Airbnb has really scaled that, is they believe in you should be able to live anywhere through Airbnb or on Airbnb. So this strategy really focuses for them around enabling people to get that access from different locations for extended periods of times and deeper connections between local communities. And that has been new for them. What they originally started with was enabling people to live anywhere for different durations of time. That was it. Right. And then they added in those different experiences and deeper local communities because they saw they were making an impact and they can do more. Right. So that started as, let's build all these features that allow for you to enable people to get that easy access and now extend durations of time. Let's build all those features. Those are your calendars, those are your communication between your host, the policies of cleaning, blah, 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 all those things. And then they're like, well, wait a minute, we're now adding to the economy. So, and we're allowing for people to learn about communities, or we're getting feedback that they would like, great hosts are leaving guides for their, people who visit or people who stay. Maybe we can connect those communities together. Like that was opportunity that they got into. So those are some aspects around the one bucket of live anywhere funnel.
Right.
The other, or that like vertical, the other vertical for them is around becoming the ultimate host. Like that's a superpower on Airbnb. It's not like anybody can just like, sure, I have a, half a bedroom and no bathroom, and you have to walk up 10 flights of stairs and ta-da, that's a lovely experience. It is, I have, a sky, a high-rise building with a doorman downstairs and, easy access and everything is delivered. You have a gym in the building, so on and so forth. Or you have a beautiful terrace in Paris that's available that overlooks the Eiffel Tower. That is very different than a 200 square meter little box of a place, right? Which is absolutely fine, but not the right experience as a host to be offering. Right. So that is another like vertical for them. And what that looks like for them is the right tools and services to offer helps or offer hosts to succeed And then now they're building that even more and scaling that of what does it mean to become a good host. So that's how they've extended that offering. They're including things like being able to be a Superhost Academy or air cover for hosts, these very different programs that have now come in to help scale that business function. Before it was, just about the strategy for enabling people to live anywhere and scale, but now it's one for scaling how hosts can be better or provide better services through Airbnb.
Right.
One more that I'll just dive into, just looking at the time, is how Airbnb is taking that, I guess, the mission that they have to be more global and more mission driven overall. I was trying to find another word besides mission, but more like philanthropic or community driven overall. One is delivering that world-class trust service that I mentioned, because it's part of
Yeah.
their theme of they have made a decision and stand on a pillar that we believe in trust on our platform. We value ourselves as a core pillar, and that goes back to that North Star also. So investing in that means also going through all the different business questions. Some of that is, as a business function, you taking a hit, you being able to manage your risk assessment significantly better. And this is me valuing what they do there, of they will put their brand on the line because they know that they can manage all of the different aspects and the ecosystems of vendors coming together. They've built that community-driven platform. You are on Airbnb because you want to promote a good product, you as the product.
Right.
It is. And so they have done that very, very well. They will eat the cost of if there's a poor experience. That is worth it to them versus losing that ROI for that user or that acquisition for the user, right? They want to continue that. So they have decided that some of those funds, and that is a mission and that is a drive from the company top down, is we will take this cost, or we will invest in this aspect and put our brand in front. And then the final thing is because they evolve, like we've said, it's a living, breathing document, or it's a living, breathing thing, because now they are community driven. Their expansion in that is something that I absolutely love, of unlocking the next generation of hosts. And that's a drive of theirs that even looks at real estate developers or community programs that are allowing the betterment of specific communities so they can be truly a platform and provide access of travel and experiences to folks. And I think that's just such an amazing part of the strategy that hits all different aspects, hitting the user's needs. I have a very clear mission in mind, and I'm allowing for scale and growth with understanding how the user problem is evolving.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Like the depth of detail that you have provided with this Airbnb use case, right? So its case study is like awesome. So Airbnb has one of the key challenge they have initially was that this challenge of beating the traditional way of booking rooms or something, right? And with this community driven, they thought through that, and they bring in that part so beautifully that today it is like it become a verb now, to be very honest. Unlike
Yeah.
Google, like, yeah, do an any instead of saying booking, we call it do Airbnb.
Maybe.
Yeah, just Airbnb, something, and it's so important. And I think one of the thing that Airbnb has also focused during this COVID time, one of the thing that I found that they did is like that is the time they hit their business, right? Like the low bottom.
Mhm.
From there, they did not stop at that point in time. One of the interesting things they did at that point in time, when others were struggling, they created the brand value of Airbnb.
Brand.
They did not say that come and stay with us, or they did not promote it, we are offering 80% discount or 70% discount. They just created that brand value of what Airbnb is. And I think that says that how beautiful the leadership team thinks around it, that even in those situation when the business is at rock bottom, right? They did not stop there. They just keep on pushing. They know what to do at that point in time, and then they did it and then made it happen. This is a great case study. I would love to hear more, but due to time crunch, let's pick up the questions that people has actually asked. So I'll go with the people who have already posted the question, and if somebody has more question, and like just try to write it down. So the first question has been asked by Adnan about what metrics should we consider in making product strategy.
Yeah, that's a great question. You're gonna hate my answer first to begin with, if it depends, but that's really the truth. It really depends of what your goal is and what you're going after, and I would look at your metrics around that. But there's certain basics to your metrics. You need metrics to make sure that you are showing progress. You need metrics that are going to measure the success of your goals. Those seem like no-brainers, but it's so much harder than just saying it out loud. So for example, of like that finance app, like I want to create, a finance app to provide you insight with AI on your personal finances. Is it downloads of the app? That could be a metric. Is it, the add-on subscriptions? If I'm adding on different features, is it the usage of that? It depends on what I'm building to show that success. So that's how I would relate them together. But you do need to look at those goals. Things I would also say, as I'm building it for my team, is adoption, extension, that is reach for new opportunities. And then also, because we are building in such an accelerator and stealth mindset, is engineering velocity and optimization. That is one, but that's important for my business at this point in time. So you have to think in that way.
Right. So Adnan had posted another quick follow-up, like how do we verify the metrics are correct?
Stakeholder alignment.
That's true. That's true. Moving on to the next question from Kopal. Her question was is like how to know when to pivot and find the perfect PMF. It's a
That's a
deeper question.
Yeah. So this is where I'd say the art of product management comes in a little bit more. You're going to have your metrics in front of you. You're going to have them in front of you. When you understand the customer needs also, you're going to know what is a very loud voice and an opportunity, and you will emphatically speak towards that. The business might not want it right away. It might not be ready right away. That's where you have a good backlog. That makes a very good backlog, and you will be saying it more and more. When it's blatant in front of you, you will know it. Fear is another good factor. You need to bring costs down. That is one thing, and then that is driving your strategy. It is great. You can still accelerate, but can't do it more. You can't spend one more penny on data storage costs. Not a penny more. You need to be bringing them down. That will come in. You'll have to do that. Or it's, guys, we were going out to build this finance app. They're looking for mortgage calculators. We can charge for a mortgage calculator. Just A/B test it. That could be another thing too, to socialize a pivot potentially. So there are different tools that you can leverage, but you're not going to know. There's not a you've now hit X amount in revenue, pivot, or you have not hit X amount in revenue, pivot. There's never going to be that magic formula for sure.
Correct. That's really. I'll just move on to the next question. I have follow-up question, but with the interest of time. So it's again a question from Kopal. Like, does the prioritization framework that you said, right, Rise, Moscow, does get really used in the job itself? What would be?
Yeah. Yes. Let me just, I will be very objective on this one. It is not necessarily about, is it used all the time? It is about a great product manager understands the value of when a model is necessary. There is not alignment happening. There is a lack of alignment. You want to get socialized people in a certain direction because you know it's going to bring business value. These are good tools to have in your toolbox and be familiar with, and to utilize them correctly. If a senior PM came to me and was talking to me about a Moscow framework, when I am looking at optimization models for X, Y, and Z, I would want them to be more experienced and find other models. It's about a tool in your toolbox. That's the way I would say, think about it from that framework. And you are able to drive conversations better with more model or more framework experience that you have or can familiarize yourself with.
Right. That's a great thought process, kind of, and it should be treated as a tool rather than it must to be used or we have to use it. It's not that the case. So the next question is from Pooja. How do you manage work-life balance in a demanding PM role?
You don't. I don't believe in it. I don't. I'm going to break that bubble for you right now. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I believe in work-life harmony. Product managers, like I said, are weathermen. People believe you're fortune tellers and you're not. So you get shit upon a lot. Why aren't we meeting our deliverables? Why isn't this going the right way? I thought we talked about this. You're reminding people what you've talked about 10 times. That's just what you do. You need to be a good communicator of the things that you need and how you need them and build that harmony. When I'm good at work, I'm good at home. When I'm good at home, I'm good at work. So that harmony has to exist. So Pooja, we can dive into that a lot more. I love talking about that. I'm a new mom also, so I can definitely talk about all that. But I do not believe in that balance.
Balance is not the right word, to be very honest. It's more about harmony because you can
Yeah.
focus one thing at a time, either work, either personal life. So you need to decide what to do that point in time. Okay, so the next question is again from Pooja. How can
Mhm.
someone with no direct project management experience transition into a PM role?
So when you say PM, I'm going to assume it's product that you're wanting to transition to, and
Yeah, I think it is product. Yeah,
you don't have project experience, and you're wanting to get into product
product.
management.
Right.
I don't think you need project management experience to get into product. That is a different job for me. That is a project management function or a product ops function. Product management function, you are solving problems for the business. It is somebody else's job to manage the flow of that. Sometimes as a junior PM, you might have to help wear that hat for some time, but you will learn. Yeah, there are Scrum courses you can take and things like that, but you will learn the rhythm of your team. You will learn the rhythm of your dev cycles, all of that stuff to help that happen. But you do not need direct project management experience.
Perfect. I think with that we almost ended our Q&A session, and we are almost 5 minutes over. So thank you, Natasha, for joining with us, giving this valuable insight and your case studies, and also an opportunity in coming year for people who are looking into transition can join into internship. And certainly Docker is really working great on that aspect. So we'll be looking forward, and this is a lovely session, and we'll try to see how the recordings and everything happen, and it will be certainly come up in YouTube. It was a nice session. I love the case study, and I would love to talk about the case studies more.
Yeah.
Let's see if we have to plan out something more again. Good.
Thank you all so much. It was great chatting today.
Yeah. Thank you.